One of the things that I'd like to say really is that I think it's really hard on people sometimes when they're wanting to park in town centres. I think parking's quite extortionate prices, and I think that drives people out of town. It sends them straight out to outlets where there's free parking. I think that's really something that could attract people back into town centres and make the community a lot better place.
Yes, I think the standard of driving nowadays is pretty bad. In fact, the latest cars, we've just followed a car down and he turned left, no signals, and I'm thinking, well, it's so easy now, you know, with the indicator on the steering wheel, just a signal. So I think generally speaking, the standard of driving is pretty poor.
I found when I'm going into charity shops, the prices they're charging for second-hand clothing that's been given to them, it's ridiculous.
It's common knowledge that it's not all of the money goes to charity. The people at the top are getting hundreds of thousands of pounds wages, which when they have volunteers working in shops who do the actual graft are being paid nothing.
Okay, basically university bugs me because it's quite stressful with the work, like the load work we get. We have assignments, exams and group presentations to do, which gets like quite a lot, and it kind of gets a bit stressful on like, just really university mainly.
Bad driving in bad weather. It's when people continue to do like 30-40 miles an hour when the roads are slippery and wet without any consideration for anybody else. And they also, another thing that we do locally a lot is people don't seem to realise that it's give way to the right on a roundabout. So they come up to roundabouts and everyone stops and we all just like sit there because nobody dare make a move in case it's the wrong move.
Pavements are just wide enough for anybody with a buggy, people who are with walking sticks or, you know, the such like. And you get these big cars right on the pavement, and anybody with a buggy has to go onto the road to get past.
My complaint about the council is the closure of public toilets, especially in parks. We go to Beaumont Park and a nice day, there's families there, and people will come up to you, the children want to go to the toilet and say, there aren't any, they've closed them. Well, there's a toilet there, we can't use it. And they're wanting people to go to parks to exercise for health, but how can somebody spend 2 hours walking around a park, on a track, running, and no toilets to go to? We have people here, I believe we're about 10 people sleeping rough in town, but there are no public toilets available for them to use. You only need to go down some of the arcades and you will find them sleeping rough. And to me this is a main health issue.
I wouldn't say it upsets me, but I don't like seeing the war, you know, in places like Syria and stuff like that, and seeing innocent children suffer the way they are there. It upsets me, and sometimes I have to put the telly on or off or change the channel just to try, not to avoid it, but, you know, sort of to get out of that frame of mind that it sort of puts you into.
I find it rather surprising that it's only just recently that the whole issue about packaging, and particularly plastic packaging, has sort of arisen and become a real headline. It was probably about 30 years ago that I actually did a lot of work in waste and recycling, and we were talking about it then. So I really find it shocking that today, 30 years on, it's probably they're talking another 25 years before we actually sort it all out. So it's great that it's a topic of conversation, but you know, we just don't work fast enough, and we really do have to work much faster. And I strongly believe that unless you legislate for these things, nothing will really happen.